Hey guys, Victor and Rix here from Stream of Thought, wanting to let you know that we are not only on iTunes anymore.
We've expanded onto Spotify and Stitcher. You can also find us on Podbean. Please, if you listen to our podcast, leave us a rating. We would love your feedback. Also, send an email to streamofthoughtpodcast@gmail.com. We would love to hear anything that you have for us. Thanks for listening. On a beautiful spring day in suburban Chicago, Illinois, here we are for another episode of Stream of Thought, number 84. And today, we start off by talking about
The DMV. Went to the DMV today to get my license renewed.
quite the story. And while you may have negative opinions of the DMV, this might surprise you.
Pretty okay.
Then we transition a little bit into Victor's acting experience.
Oh, a little bit. We touch on that just a tiny bit, but before that, a mild Ranting Rix.
A little riffing going on.
Ranting Rix.
Yeah, our conservatives evil.
No, and
Bro,
then
and
then we finish up and we just touch on Mark Zuckerberg on Capitol Hill.
Yep. So it's a very dynamic conversation.
And to answer the question, no, conservatives are not.
No,
evil.
they're not. No, and that's a provocative, antagonistic question. We talk a little bit more about the nuances and my stereotypes and my own personal flaws and shortcomings.
Not associated with Stream of Thought podcast or Victor Marquez.
Yes, this is not a representation.
Yeah. All right. With that being said, episode number 84, Stream of Thought. We hope you enjoy. Like I was saying before. Like I was saying before, there's good news and there's bad news.
Just tell me.
The good news is I know exactly what happened.
Okay.
The bad news is you will have to re-record.
Well, I knew that. I listened to the whole audio file. It sounded like I was talking into a can. That's never happened before. Tell me what happened. What did you do? Did you reverb echo?
No. This is what happened. So, when you...
For context, by the way.
What?
This is...
Okay, so for context, what happened was Rix was recording audio for a drywall doctor video that was an explainer. And this audio was going to... Really? Really? Are you serious right now? Seriously? Really? He was going to explain the audio for the a drywall doctor video that has audio, and then Rix created, animation to go with that audio, often on, education or just vocabulary or whatever it is, something new that he's trying. So he records, everything goes great, except the audio accidentally was formatted to a preset. So what happens is when you open up a voice recording, there's 4 channels that self-populate. One of them is, I think narration. One of them is echo. One of them is like one of them is like make it sound like you're on the radio, and like something else. And what happens is this: I keep those channels open because I sometimes have to move things around.
Yeah.
And what happens when you're in between the stop and start, and I'm gonna keep going, and do you want this section? No, I want this section. So I somehow moved it or accidentally recorded on that channel. Now here's what would have happened had I kept the file, had I kept the GarageBand file, all I would have had to do was click a button and format it to M4A again, and problem solved.
That's why you always keep raw footage.
But
anyway, go on.
I got rid of the raw footage because I was like, fuck this, I don't need it anymore. So I erased it.
Never immediately get rid of raw footage.
But I somehow still had the initial Drywall Doctor audio in my file.
Oh my God.
The good news is you had a lot of practice.
I did have a lot of practice, and I got to hear...
it's only a few minutes, so it's not it's not like a podcast episode.
Oh man, that would have been
But
brutal.
I do keep all the raw footage of the podcast.
So here's, I open up the file, I'm like, oh, okay, let's get ready to do this, and then all of a sudden I hear it's like, hello. I'm like, wait just a second. What? And then I listen through it the whole way, I'm like, oh shit, this is not
I'll
good.
be honest.
And then the first thing I Google is, how do you remove echo or reverberations?
You don't.
And they say it is impossible
Yeah.
to remove echo or reverberations. You can add them, but
Yeah.
you cannot remove them.
Especially because I went back and I input the M4A into the GarageBand file to see if I could somehow cancel it out, which I couldn't. And then one of them was like an even more echoey, like, and I was like, oh nope, he's not gonna like. I was like,
He's not gonna
almost
like this.
almost as a joke, I was gonna take my headphones and be like, hey, what do you think of this one? Give you some like glimmer of hope, and then it was gonna be like an even more echoed version of what the
I would have
file
totally
was.
smacked you in the
But-
face if you'd done that.
But usually when something happens, I know immediately what happened, but I pretend like I don't just to give myself some time. Like, okay, how am I going to explain this one?
Oh, that's so funny. Yeah, I mean, and you know what? Honestly, I feel like that is something that I will not get upset about. Like, that's not something that I particularly. Because I mean, I do that all the time. The only way that you can get better at what you're doing is if you make mistakes.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if you do something wrong, like, you know now that, like, you got to be careful.
Well,
It's
I
not on
just
the
thought
Echo
like it
channel.
never occurred to me to just to delete them and recreate just narration tracks. I was like, well, I don't use these, so I know where they are and whatever. So
Exactly, and so you learn something new. So it's yeah, dude. When I heard that, I'm like, should I text Victor? I was thinking to myself, like, I was getting ready. It was so funny because as much as I say I don't get upset about these things, and I'm not
Yeah.
upset about it. But my initial reaction, you know how I get with my initial reaction.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was like, the fucking audio. What did you do to the audio, Victor? I was that was my initial day, and and then afterwards I'm like, you know what? I am just not gonna text him, and I will talk to him the next time I see him, and we will re-record because it's not that big of an issue. Yes, yeah. But I can't tell the number of times that I do stuff like that where it's like, oh shit, like,
Yeah.
I just totally screwed the pooch on something,
Yeah.
and hopefully it's fixable.
Yeah.
And if not, I don't know. I
But
don't know.
changing gears real quick, I went to the DMV this morning to get my license renewed.
Oh yeah,
That was a pretty fun excursion.
which
the one in Lombard.
So there are several DMVs around here. We have like Illinois has a good array of DMVs.
Yeah, they
we
say
have
in this letter, and there's like a whole crap ton all over the place.
all over the place, and we have small DMVs that are like local. You just go in for renewals and stuff like that when you don't need your
Written exam.
or
Yeah.
anything like that. And then there's the main complexes that are scattered throughout Illinois
Yeah,
where you can
you
go.
can, like, take
you
your
have to wait in
test,
line. It's the typical DMV.
Get stickers or new plates.
So
or
tell me,
whatever.
because my experience was very interesting. When you think of DMV, mine was not a typical DMV experience. I'm interested to hear
No.
what your journey was
So
like.
I'm first gonna say this. I saw on Facebook, BuzzFeed had a video that was like when you go up to the DMV, and it was a compilation of Leonardo DiCaprio in different films that he's done. So it says like when you have to wake up and go to the DMV, when you get to the DMV, when you see two people working,
Oh my God.
30 minutes pass, 45 minutes pass, an hour pass, and it's so funny. And I watched it a few times before going to the DMV, and I had to go to the one in Lombard because I had to take a written exam, and I get there, and right when I pull up in the parking lot, I just think, fucking A. Fuck this.
What time did you go?
I was there at... Oh, the thing, too, is I was going to wake up early to get there right when they opened, but I forgot. I was up early, but I forgot, and I was like, oh, shit, I'm going to the DMV. So
yeah.
I think I got there at, like, 9,
Okay.
and it wasn't crowded at all. I lucked out because today was Wednesday, and they're closed on Monday, but they said they were really crowded yesterday.
Yes.
And so I get to the DMV, and first of all, I was like, what the fuck? There's 2 different doors to go in? Okay, I see right away there's the facility, and then there's, like, driver's license stuff. So I'm like, okay, walk through there, walk in, and I get in... I mean, first, guess how many different lines I was in?
You would be in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd be in 5 different lines.
Okay. Yes.
I
I was.
Dude,
fi-
trust
I
me,
was
I did this a couple of months ago.
I was
so
in
I know.
5 different lines,
Yeah.
and there were 6 waiting periods.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So I go up to the initial desk, and I come prepared, and I walk up, and the clerk was saying to somebody else like, Social Security card. I was like, fuck, I didn't bring my Social Security card. And because I walked up, debit, credit card, checkbook, cash, driver's license, passport, you know, I'm packing, walking into this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to be safe. You do not want to have to go back to the DMV after waiting lunch and just bring everything.
And so he's like, wait, Social Security card, what? He's like, well, do you have a passport? Yeah, I have my passport. Okay, that'll work too. And I go up, I give the woman my driver's license. That's all she needed from me.
Yeah.
She gives me this little piece of paper. That's line number 1 that I'm in. I pass. Go get your picture taken. So now I'm in line number 2, waiting, right? I'm in line number 2 to get my picture taken. Yes, I'm correct. This just happened to me a few hours ago. I get my picture taken.
Yeah.
Okay? Then the guy tells me, he gives me a number and to go wait. So I'm not in a line, but this is the 3rd time I'm waiting to do something. And I've made it through. And I'm sitting there and I'm waiting in the chair. And I'm looking up at the screen and I'm hearing the numbers being called. I'm just like, what type of just arbitrary system are they using to
A13,
yeah.
B25.
Yeah, they're like
C
now calling
0.
Yeah, now they're calling B220. Next, C113, window 8. D444, window 9. E560, window 2. Like, what is going on? What is going on?
Different classifications, my friend.
That's right.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, whatever. I'm sitting there. And I see this girl come up to, like, her mom, and she's walking up, and she's like, I didn't pass. I don't know. Mom. I mean, and I'm just like, oh, hell no, because this is the end of the world for a teenager. For today, this is the end of the world for a teenager. I don't know, Mom. He marked me down for going 2 miles over the speed limit. I came to a crosswalk. I slowed down. I didn't see there was a stop sign, so I just went right through it. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And so the mom gets up. And they go talk to the driving instructor that's still standing there. And I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
God.
They don't make a scene. They're talking for a few minutes. Then I see them walk over to the supervisor, which is right next to line number 1, or window number 1. And it says supervisor on there. And they're talking. And then I like pay attention to something else. And I look back and they're gone. I'm like, oh, no. I wanted to see a scene. But I see them through the window walking out of the DMV. I'm like, oh, too bad, so sad. Better luck next time.
Oh, they
had already
ways?
walked out,
okay.
and I saw them through the window
they were heading
walking.
back to their car to go home.
And I'm sitting there, and I'm waiting. I'm looking around, and I'm like, holy shit. I see them walk into my periphery, back into the DMV. And it's funny because just reading body language, the mother is very headstrong, right? And the daughter is kind of like, just like going with the flow, kind of like with her head a little bit tilted down, going with the flow. I'm like, no. And I see him walk straight through this door. So I was like, you know what, Mom? Great job being a mom. Because the woman I was talking to in line, she once said, like, yeah, when I was 16, I failed my exam. I went to go talk to the supervisor and explain the scenario, and it turns out the instructor marked things incorrectly. He let me take it again that same day. So I imagine that's what would have happened. They went to the supervisor explained what happened. He's like, okay, well, just go ahead and just take it again right now, you know. So that was pretty entertaining. I'm waiting for my number to be called. And then out of nowhere, B220, B221, B222, B223. Wow. Chronological consistency. I didn't know this happened. And my number was B222. Go up to the window, right? And I give them my driver's license. I give them the paper. They verify my address, all this stuff. Look through the little thing, where are the flashing lights flashing, blah, 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 blah. And, okay, go to the cashier line now. So I went up to the first line, passed.
Mm-hmm.
Go to get my picture taken,
mm-hmm.
Pass. Waiting. Go up to the window, pass.
Pass your vision.
Yeah, go up and then also like this slew of questions that are just yes or no.
Yeah, like are you...
Then I go up to the cashier and I'm waiting. I walk up, and they accept checks, which I just wrote them a check so I didn't have to pay extra to use a credit card. okay, now go to your written exam. So I'm waiting in line. There's like really no line. There's one other person there.
Mm-hmm.
Take the written exam. While I'm taking the written exam, I'm answering like the last couple questions, and it's such common sense stuff.
Oh yeah. The
Right?
only thing that confused me a little bit was the signs without the like some of the odder signs without
without the words on
without
them.
the words on them.
Yeah.
Like there's some very unusual. Like I can't even think of.
They're weird.
There's some that you never see in the Illinois area in the suburbs.
And so I'm doing the last few questions,
Like avalanche warning or something
yeah.
that. Is like okay.
And this other employee had walked up to the guy who gave me my exam and was like, "Hey, I need a test with this or that." And he's like, "No, we don't have a test like that. There is no wavy road sign on the exam because there's like 19 answers and like 17 signs or something." He's like, "Oh, wait, no," because like some people could hear him and he was joking around like, "Oh, I hope you didn't hear me." And I give him the exam and he's looking through. I'm getting every single question right. And he said something like, what did he say? He said, "Oh, aren't you an overachiever?" And then he's like, "I gotcha." And I got one wrong. And then he turns over. He's like, "Ha ha, gotcha again." And so I got 2 wrong on this 35 question test.
Yes.
And someone had walked by.
Do you know which ones you got wrong?
No.
Okay.
And someone had walked by and like joked around with him like, "Oh, looks like you got a promotion." And I don't know if he did or not, but I joked with him saying like, "Oh yeah, this must be the good spot. By the time people come over here, you know, they're not the idiots that just complain about every little thing. You guys got this filtration system going on." And he was like, "Yeah, it's like way nicer over here because this is one of the last checkpoints I'm at."
And it's way in the back. It's
way in the back corner.
It's like cordoned off. They have ropes setting up, chairs and things like that.
So I go to and then after that I go to the update line, which is just I get in line. So I go to another line because at that point he's like, "Congratulations, your license is renewed." You just get in line. And you go to the next window, and they punch a hole through your ID. They give you a piece of paper that says, like, "This is your driver's license until it gets mailed to you." You know? And that was it.
Photo desk, right?
I was there for maybe 45 minutes.
Yeah.
And it was smooth sailing, not a single issue.
I feel like that's a pretty common experience that most people have with Illinois drivers DMVs because I had that experience.
Yeah.
My sister, it was weird. My sister needed 2 forms of ID, but I didn't when I went in.
I'm trying to figure out, like, when do people need a birth certificate? When do they need their social card? When did I only ever gave them my driver's license?
Well, yeah, no, me too. And no one asked for anything else. Like, the woman at the front asked, like, "Do you have another form of identification?" But no one at the windows asked to see a second form of ID. I just needed to hand them the old driver's license.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting, as you were going through this, what I found peculiar, and maybe this is just like me being neurotic or whatever, but the order in which you went in, the fact that you got your photo taken first.
I thought that was weird too.
I've never had that experience. The photo has always been the last because you have to pay for everything and you have to like go through the process, and the only reason they're going to take your photo is if you're getting a license printed. They're not going to waste time or energy taking a photo if you fail your driver's license, don't have the money to pay for your card, or don't have the documentation to prove that you can get a license. So that's really weird that they sent you straight to the photo.
Because when I'm at the window where she's asking me questions
if
anything has changed on my ID, she was like, "Do you need to take a photo today?" It's like, "You guys don't know what you're doing? Like, I already took my photo." She's like, "Okay."
Huh. That sounds
Which
like
I
there was
wish
some
I would have
miscommunication,
retaken because the driver's license that I got when I was 21, awesome photo ID for a driver's license. Really happy with it. This one, it's one of those like where you think you look one way and then it gets printed out and you look completely different.
Yep.
I look like someone who's in the Manson family. My hair is down. I have like a thicker facial hair, and I'm just like,
the super white light on your face makes you very
I'm just
pale.
like, what the hell? Yeah. But
I mean,
it was a painless experience.
I have to say, are you really going to try and open another window?
Because
wow,
I'm hot
you
right
are
now.
such a little girl.
Why isn't this opening?
You just locked the window. That's why. Anyway, my experience was the same way. 45 minutes, done. I think I might have gotten like 3 wrong on my test.
Yeah.
So you probably beat me there. But
I kind of wanted to know, but at the same time, I don't care.
Well, I found it weird that you have to retake the driving test when you're, what, I guess 30 years old now? Or for your 30
Well...
Like, when you renew it after
You get it for me, I got it when I was 16, and then I had to renew it when I turned 21. I had to get a new picture. I just went to Wheaton.
Oh yeah, that's right. They redo it.
I just went to Wheaton and they just took a picture for me.
Yep.
And then 4 years after that, they sent me an email, and I had to renew it, so I had to pay them money, but I didn't have to do anything or go anywhere.
You just had to fill out a
pay them
form
online.
And pay them online.
And then they just they mailed me a new license with the same photo from 4 years before that.
Because I had thought that it was like a punishment or something like that. Like if you're a bad driver, you have to take the driving test. But apparently everyone has to take the driving test in Illinois after a certain period of time.
Yeah, it's a good thing because there's some people on the road, old people. I'm just like, how do you can't even see above the steering wheel? How are you driving right now?
Seriously, I know.
How are you driving right now?
I know. And think about it too. And my brother bitches about this all the time. But in the South, a lot of times they don't even have driver's education, and they don't require driving tests to get a license.
You just pay $5 and you get a fucking license?
Yeah, and you can drive.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally irresponsible. The number of people...
Kind of like getting a gun, right? Just
Bro, man. The number of...
I'd like to buy one gun, please.
Yeah, it's like fast food drive-through menu.
All right.
It's, I'd like the special, the 6 with the special sauce. The extra bullets.
Zero effort into seeing if this person is capable or responsible enough to carry a gun. Like, oh, yeah, just pay me the money and here you go.
Well, it's the same with cars, man. Like, and that's the crazy part, too, is that there's... I don't know. I'm not going to get onto the whole tangent, but yes, I mean the fact that I don't want to say the North as a whole, but I'd say like the Chicago suburbs and certain areas in the North are very good about making sure that people are at least competent enough not to like crash into a tree or something like that, or to like constantly drive drunk. I feel like in the burbs, I mean drunk driving is an issue everywhere, but I don't feel like we have less casualties as a result of bad drivers, like less bad drivers.
You think?
Yeah, maybe.
Are you just thinking that, or is there evidence somewhere to support your opinion?
Dude, I'm just throwing it out there. Yes. Got it.
But yeah, it was. I won today. I won this morning, and it was. Oh, and I forgot when I was at the window when they're asking me these questions like, has your address changed, or answer these yes or no questions. You know, have you gotten your license revoked or whatever. The guy next to me, they're like, okay, I just need a copy of your birth certificate. What birth certificate? It never said anything online about a birth certificate. He's like, no, we need... And he got upset. And I was like, dude, stop being an asshole. And he's like, no, online it says this. And then she's like, okay, well, show it to me. And he's like off to the side looking on his phone. And I can't remember I don't recall what happened if, in fact, he was not told to get a birth certificate or if he was just making shit up and then left. I don't know what it was. But he got, like, so upset, and I just remember thinking, like, dude, you need to chill out.
Yeah.
Just chill out. Like, if you don't have what you need this time, just come back another day.
Yeah. And something
that brought me a little bit of joy when he was being an asshole and he was inconvenienced. That put a smile on my face.
Well, I mean, that kind of brings to mind something that's been on my thought process recently, and that is, I don't know, for some reason, and I think maybe it has to do with my previous work relationships with certain individuals who I won't name right now, but the difference between ideologies or like the environment that you grow up, so I feel like I'm going to sound super ignorant saying what I'm about to say.
Perfect.
I don't know if I should say it.
Yeah, go ahead.
Should I say it?
You've already... Yeah, go.
It sounds really...
This is like climbing...
Okay, you know what? I'm going to say it as crudely and as horribly and as ignorantly as I possibly can say, and we can go from there. We can chisel it away and refine it into a Michelangelo statue. Okay, here's my theory. Conservatives, especially conservative evangelicals, believe the way to resolve... there's liberals and moderates and conservatives. So... liberals and moderates, I feel like the way they resolve disputes or disagreements is through conversation, debate, and some sort of there's some sort of mutual dialogue that happens to try to resolve conflict.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like conservatives, the initial response is a aggression equal or more than the slight that they felt like they received. And so when conflict emerges, their response is to metaphorically or literally punch someone in the face. And I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, you're more familiar with moderates, liberals, and conservatives. Can't really speak on that. It's not like I can just looking at someone know.
Let's do a blind study. Why, like, can you think of certain individuals who respond one way or another?
Yeah.
Now, can you attribute any sort of political or ideological leanings towards them?
Yes.
And what your initial, like, the people who come to mind on various
I'm only
things,
thinking. I'm only thinking of one person right now, and but of the people that I know, the group of people that I know, there's one who I'm thinking of who I've observed, like, I think to myself, dude, there is absolutely no reason to, bring this level of aggression all the way up to the top. There's absolutely no need for this. And then there's a few other people I know who, like, they might go up a little bit but are a little bit more under control. And then there's others who are just like, oh, like, super chill.
Yeah.
And their political, social, and economic background are relatively similar. So I think I just disproved your theory.
Oh, similar in the way. Like, yeah. Wait, what do you mean? All these peoples and their different reactions have similar political identity.
From the same area, roughly the same economic, roughly from the same economic background. It's all like these people that I'm thinking of are roughly all from the same area, and have similar social and political.
But they
beliefs.
Respond in
respond
different ways.
But respond differently, yeah.
Okay, interesting. Because I'm trying to be a little more nuanced about this, but perhaps, just maybe, it's my misperception, and it's the way that it's portrayed.
But at the same time,
in the mainstream,
stereotypes, there is probably some truth, a small nugget of truth behind some stereotypes. So I don't know.
Okay, let me sort of raise why I approach this issue in the first place, and it has to do with a lot of these conservative evangelical leaders who are out there. I mean, yeah, they've been defending Donald Trump.
The Bible.
The Jesus says that Donald Trump is meant to be president and good role model. But okay, so there are report after report coming out that evangelical leaders believe that Donald Trump is a good and moral leader who we should all try and be like. And so I see this consistently over and over again in all the major conservative evangelical figures and in the conservative world on the national scale in general, is that there's this constant defense of bad behavior if they're on your side, because the attitude is, well, your opponents are more evil, so, like, what's being a little bit of evil if it means that good wins out, kind of thing. And so I find this sort of, I reflect back to, well, even right now, where you have some Democratic senators saying that Bill Clinton should have been impeached for his affair now. And it's one of those things where, okay, well, like, we're all equal under the same sort of thing. We can have conversations about whatever, and we can deal with it that way. Or we can respond with hostility and say, everyone else is a liar, I am right, I will always be right, and if you dare challenge me, I will punch you in the face until you can't fight back.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's a wider cultural thing, but I feel like in those conservatives who I talk to, the initial response is one of, whether it's dealing with their children, saying that, yeah, like, I would totally hit my children or let my children hit each other or do whatever, because that's how you show that you're the boss. Like, if you get hit, you need to hit them back harder. I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard that from people who come from, granted, it's, like, I don't want to sound, okay, I'm going to sound so elitist right now, but they come from uneducated families, so not graduating high school or anything like that. But it feels like, just over and over again, it's not like just one or two conversations. These are dozens of people who I talk to, that it feels like I keep hearing these same streams come out over and over again, where it's, I don't understand your perspective, I don't understand where you're coming from. You did something bad to me. I feel angry. I feel like you treated me unfairly. The way to make things even is to respond in kind. And I feel like that's sort of the simplistic logic of, well, you did something to me, I do something to you, so it's all equal kind of thing. I don't know. It feels like something that I see just more and more, and maybe I was blind to it when Democrats were in charge of government on a national scale because, I identify more along those parties, but it is very frustrating right now as a Christian and as a relatively progressive person who, I will take the good and bad in anybody, but you have to be honest about it. You can't say I'm perfect and everyone else is evil. Like you can't absolutize everything that you talk about. And it becomes very frustrating to me to be like, well, we're just going to disengage from this conversation because we're living in different moral universes.
Yeah.
Like the way that we respond to problems is fundamentally different. And it's frustrating to me, and maybe that's why it sticks out more, is because it is so frustrating and antithetical to what I truly believe in my heart, which is that dialogue and understanding can really resolve all of our problems, whereas our problems can be resolved through violence. Can be. And that's the thing. I don't believe our problems can ever be resolved through violence. I don't believe anything good ever comes of violence. Whereas they believe it is a necessary function in order to resolve problems in certain instances. I'm not saying all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, conservatives are like angry madmen going around like punching people in the face on the street or anything like that. But I'm saying that there's this attitude of like, you know what, there's a line you don't cross, and if you cross that line, then yeah, we resort to violence.
But what happens when people just don't listen to reason?
That's what I'm saying. Is that that's the distinction that I have so much frustration with, is that you can have reasonable and rational conversations, I think, with anybody, regardless of how crazy they may be. But there's always a line that you cross, or that you have to be careful not to cross, in which it becomes antagonistic or it becomes viewed as hostile. And as soon as it becomes viewed as hostile, you have one of two options. One, you can respond with continued dialogue, or two, you can respond with aggression. And it may seem anecdotal, but I just feel like over and over again I keep seeing these reoccurring trends that correspond with general characteristics of an individual.
Yeah, I'm sure too the idea to talk things out just isn't even on their radar. People just don't know what they don't know.
And that's the other thing too. Like one of the meetings that I go to, the people who I talk to, it seems almost alien to them. Like, what do you mean you can have, like, they called you a name and you, like, asked them why you called them? Like, why didn't you just punch them in the face?
Let's say there's just someone in some, like, it's just some hobunk, middle of nowhere, Dust Bowl town, right? And the proper way to deal with things is to, like you said, they hit you, you hit them back. Why? Because that's just there's no reason for dialogue. Whereas, let's say somewhere that is more educated and there's more kind of like going on, like say a suburb, or something like that, affluent or not, if you hit someone, they're going to sue you. So there are more dire consequences for just a blunt action rather than if you're in an area that's probably middle of nowhere.
I don't just mean,
you know what I'm saying?
I don't mean just physical aggression either.
Oh,
I mean
okay.
like legal aggression too. I mean, or metaphysical aggression, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Aggression takes many different forms, and I feel like yeah, there are rich conservatives who are more prone to sue you if you say something bad about them than moderates or liberals who will say, you say something bad about me, I will respond, but I will not sue you or try to bury you.
Yeah.
Whereas the alternative political ideology is crush, destroy, eliminate, because they are the enemy and evil.
Yeah.
And it used to be, at least in the political spectrum, it used to be just a very small portion, but I just keep seeing it growing and growing, and it's like, has this always existed, or is it just emerging because of the current political trends that we're experiencing?
I'm going to say the latter. Just emerging because of the current political
I think it goes back to that question of, like, have there always been this many stupid people out there, or is it just because of the internet that we see them more? Like, I feel like it's one of those situations.
There's just always this many stupid
There's
people.
always been this many stupid people. We just see them more.
Yeah.
There's always been this many angry people and violent people and aggressive people. We just see them more now.
Yeah.
Because they have a unifying call. Because they can say, oh, look, these other people are doing it. They're saying they're right. They're saying I'm right. We're all right. Like, we group together. And you create these insular shells. But anyway, that was something that sort of just has been on my mind. It really has been. Because it's... as kind and as loving as I want to be to a lot of these individuals, I hear certain things where it's like there's so much hatred and anger, and it's like even in people who are trying to be the best people that they can be, it's like, well, it's just taken for granted that you respond with violence. Like, and I try to understand that, and I try to have these conversations. Well, what do you mean? Like, isn't there an alternative? And they're like, no, there's no alternative. Like, that's just what you do. And I've failed to be able to overcome that sort of barrier.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, violence must happen because that is the way that the world is. And it's like, well, no, violence doesn't have to happen. And they say, yes, violence does have to happen. And it's very weird.
Changing gears again because I don't have anything to add.
No, I know.
I'm sure
I'm sorry.
I've
just been talking to your
That
face,
is interesting.
looking at you, looking at me.
So, I went yesterday to finish shooting the part of the student film that I just wish was completely over, which it is now. The nice thing is, we met up downtown in the Loop instead of like all the way out in Edgewater, right?
Yes.
Which is like way far north. So anyway, I go there to finish this shoot, and before that, I did an audition in the same building, at the same place in a different room, and I'm talking to this person, and they're like, "Oh, you're meeting someone to finish shooting a film here?" I'm like, "Yeah," and then they also knew that I was finishing up a film over the weekend, and we were just talking a little bit, and I was telling them how amazed I was at the production these students at Columbia College put on, and they're like, "Oh yeah. You know, Columbia is a really, really good school, hard to get into, and they really teach you, you know, industry standards on how to do things and how to do things right."
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay, yeah. I mean, that it shows because I was working with a group of professionals. I saw past their college kids. These are a group of professionals, and she's like, yeah, the Art Institute of Chicago. We're kind of more like, you know, more. Abstract, experimental, and I'm like, that explains a lot. That explains a ton. Thank you for telling me that, because I just now feel so enlightened as to why this process for making this film has just been so ass backwards.
Oh. Okay.
And so she was telling me this, and the image that kind of came to mind was like, if you want to, you know, I thought of you, so I was thinking of an analogy like for literature, right? If you wanted to write a short story or a book, you know, how do you want to be taught how to do that? You know, proper research, putting together bibliographies, you know, proper, you know, credit, grammar, you know, how to utilize a computer, learning how to type, like all the technical stuff in order to provide a neat and sharp manuscript.
Yeah.
Or you can just have a fucking pencil in one hand and a crayon in the other and just woo, woo. That is what my experience has been like a little bit.
That is delightful.
That's a little bit over the top.
I love that analogy.
You know? That's a little over the top.
I think that really sums up the picture.
That
pretty
is
accurately.
about as simple as I can make it.
Wow. Yeah. Putting all those things together, I feel like the experience of... By the way, if you haven't heard of this, check it out in episode number 81 or something like that.
Which one?
Where you talk about your, like, the whole background of how this gig ended up being such a disaster.
Oh, yeah.
We went through this whole, like,
recent,
half hour, 45 minute
It's somewhere
thing
in there. I
about,
can't remember what it's
like,
called.
how crazy this whole experience was, and just, like...
Maybe mid-70s, I don't know. I can't recall, but yeah.
But yeah, it was a very surreal experience
Yeah.
for you, and very atypical of your normal experiences.
Yes.
And it's like, why is this happening the way that it is? And now all the pieces sort of fall into place.
So now I'm like, okay, now, and And I do the audition, and I'm at the audition, and I'm just like, I don't even want to be here. That's the first time that happened to me, because I just have this bad taste in my mouth because it's at the same school that this initial bad experience happened at.
Yes.
So I'm just like, after she said that, I'm like, shit, is this going to be the same thing? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But she was like, no, there would probably be like about 10 crew members. So I'm like, you know what? I'm going to give it a shot. After the audition, it sounded like I had the part if I wanted it. So I'll still give it a shot just to, compare and contrast. And then I go upstairs to another room and I finish shooting the film that I didn't want to do that's just dragging on or felt like it's dragging on. And I'm sitting there and I'm just like, you just got to embrace situations for the sake of telling a story in the future. I'm sitting in this room with like the scene that we're doing, there's like candles around. It's like the same, kind of like the same thing a little bit. I'm like uncomfortable on the ground. I don't really want to be there, but I'm just doing it. This will be a good story someday. Like when I first started, I did this film that was really weird. And we were there for like less than an hour. And I was like, wow, I was really surprised. I was able to get out after an hour. And then one of the people who was directing the camera, had the camera, but he wasn't the director. He was like, hey, would you be interested in doing another student film, like maybe in the end of May? What do you, like, I imagine this is what it's like when guys ask a girl out, like, what do you want me to say? Like, no? I mean, maybe, or sometimes they just say yes to be nice, because like, oh, yeah, for sure. And I was like, I didn't want to. But again, I was like, you know what? If it's convenient for me, I'll do it. We'll see what happens. Another thing for the resume. Maybe it's a shitty experience. Maybe it's a good experience. But it was just funny. And I was just like, man.
I feel like life is categorized into 3 different areas. 1, the good stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff that you enjoy doing.
Yeah.
2, the mundane stuff, the stuff that you got to do, like the stuff that just is,
Yeah.
boring. And then 3, the story stuff. The stuff that is just bad, but it's bad in a way that like it can be a really good learning experience, not just for you, but for anyone who you share the story with. Because it's like, we all experience those things where we make huge mistakes or get into something that we never anticipated, and then afterwards, you make something of it.
And the cool thing is, too, is like, I very slowly, I'm just like, okay, this is why people, have things written into their contracts, so they don't get their time wasted or they don't get fucked over.
Yeah.
I started thinking, it's like, you know what I did learn from this that maybe I didn't learn if I was just having great experiences all the time? I'm going to start asking if I get gigs, like, I want my train tickets reimbursed. I'm only going to do it if you reimburse my train tickets. Because what the fuck, Metra? One-way ticket from Zone E to Zone A is $6.75 now?
Yeah, that's
what
absurd.
The fuck?
Yeah.
Are you serious? What the hell?
Jacking it up, man. And for one train every 2 hours or something, too. So not exactly
On the weekends, yeah.
the most convenient transportation either.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, but really when it comes down to it, though...
And I'm sure students wouldn't have mine because that's minimal, but still, I want my shit.
And negotiation, I think, is a part of it as
Yeah.
well, and that's something to learn over the experience. But, I mean, I try to be in one of those things right now where if I have that spidey sense tingling of this is going to be a bad experience, I just buckle in and, like, strap myself down.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm going to remember every moment of this so that I can share it later.
Yeah.
And the sooner that you can sort of realize, oh, boy, this is going to be a doozy.
Yeah.
Like, the sooner you can get into the mindset of, like, this is just temporary. It's a horrible, awful experience, but it's going to be a great story.
Right.
And you just, it's like, all right, here we go. Like, bring me anything. Like, bring me the worst that you can, because I'm expecting it now. Like, I know this is going to be bad.
Yeah.
But I know there's going to be a great story that comes out of it. And for me, my best, my most entertaining experiences come from when I catch it, like, early on. Like, oh, there's something wrong here. Like, this is not going to be a very good thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, all right, changing my mind. Like, this isn't going to be... option 1 of like a good experience or option 2 of a mundane experience, this is gonna be option 3. This is gonna be bad. Like, for me, bad is good, man. Like, bad is good because it gives good stories.
Yeah,
It always does.
That's what I say too.
Because you avoid the bad and the later, but we all have the bad.
And the
every once in a while.
the very essence of having a mundane experience is so temporary. You know, it could be 1 or 2 days of just like this just taking forever, but in reality, it's like you pay a price for a good story or for an experience.
Yeah.
So that you don't have to deal with that crap again.
Amen, brother.
But yeah, it was when I was in one of the scenes, I'm like coiling a rope, and there's like 5 different ropes, and they're like, we might do this with each rope just to see what it's like. So I'm coiling this rope several times, 2 or 3 times for each camera angle. There's like 3 or 4 different angles. I'm just like, I'm not fucking doing this over and over again with these different ropes. Luckily, the very first rope I grabbed, they're just like, we're just going to stick with that one.
Yeah.
But it's just like, this is such a great learning experience to now, like, okay, I know what to look out for. I know what could happen,
Mm-hmm.
And it's just going to get better, but definitely...
Well, yeah, but
better or worse.
The night is always darkest before the dawn, so expect a couple more screw-overs before
No,
like,
for sure.
the full...
For sure. No, that's what I meant. It's just going to get better in terms of, like, continuing to learn.
And that's why it's maybe a good idea to do this crappy student film, because it's kind of like, that at the very least they're going to, like, pay you or something like that.
This other one they'll pay me.
Yeah. So it's like, you have certain assurances, but everything else is like, well, maybe I can learn something new about the horrors of the industry.
This other person seems like she's a little more organized. She's like, I want to get it all done in one day. And she seems like she's a little more with it, but it's still like, whoa, a little experimental. But we'll see. I don't want to have this broad opinion based on one experience,
Of course, yeah.
So
no, that's reasonable.
Yeah, but we'll see what happens.
So one more thing before we close up.
Yeah.
And this could just be a couple of minutes, but I just want to throw it out there. Mark Zuckerberg testifying before the Senate and the House. Testifying before Congress over Facebook.
Yeah, admitting, we should be a little more protective. And their stock went up 4.5%.
Mm-hmm. And you want to know why that is?
Why?
Because investors liked how he performed on Capitol Hill.
Really?
After the first day. Oh yeah. He
Social Network 2.
By not invoking the ire of any senator and answering them very respectfully and very honestly and very in his own language, he was able to show that he knows what he's talking about and that he's doing the things that Congress would like to see being done. It was very interesting, though, because everyone on the outside of Congress said, the average age of a senator is 63 years old. These fucking people don't know how to use social media to begin with, and here they're asking technical questions about how to protect our privacy.
Oh.
And so the questions that they were asking is like, is a poke a bad thing or something like that?
Really?
That's not an actual question that they asked. Like, I mean, it was
I saw some memes. I saw some memes on the internet,
yes.
so I didn't really understand the context that they were in. But that's what they were.
It refers to the fact.
Real quick. One of them was like, one of the memes said, "Mr. Zuckerberg, there are." It said something. Is America Online the same thing as Facebook? And then no. America Online is not the same thing as Facebook. just rudimentary.
Thank you, Mr. Zuckerberg.
Yes.
You have answered my question.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. And so you were getting a lot of these questions of just, well, duh. Like, you and I, everyone knows this is how social media works. And so they were asking him, explain how social media works as opposed to explain how the whole privacy
So he was getting
situation.
an easy question.
Oh yeah, he was just really, and yeah, he was skating by because these people don't know technology.
Yeah.
They don't know Silicon Valley. They don't know any of the developments that are going on technologically. They don't have the RAM in their heads to be able to integrate that knowledge into a very short and brief thing.
Right.
Regardless of how important it is. They all use Facebook. They all use social media, Twitter, whatever.
Yeah.
But They don't know how
or
it
their
works.
team uses it on their behalf or something.
And so their questions are more just like the layperson of just the average Joe on the street asking a question, as opposed to an expert asking another
Just
expert a
getting
question to
grilled,
hold
yeah.
accountability to the platform. And unfortunately, while this could have been an opportunity for Congress to actually push for some substantial changes in how Facebook operates, it ended up becoming like a partisan sideshow where you had Republicans saying, why are you taking down conservative conspiracy theorists? Because they're just as much free speech as anyone else. They weren't saying conservative conspiracy theorists, but they were asking questions of, like, specifically, why did you take down this person, that person, the other thing? They were conspiracy theorists on the right. Like, yeah, they may have widespread appeal for Republicans, but that doesn't make their information a legitimate interpretation. So, I mean, like curation, etc. But their thing was, well, why are you disbarring them but allowing, the fake Black Lives Matter group, which had almost 1 million followers and was actually founded by a white Australian dude who was making...
It was a fake group?
The largest Black Lives Matter Facebook group had 700,000 followers and was founded by an Australian billionaire who ended up selling all this merch and stuff like that and ended up getting, like, a good percentage of the profits. Yeah.
That is great.
Yeah. And I just think to myself, if you're one of those followers who, like, bought the merch or whatever, like, how must you be feeling right now? I wouldn't know. Like, I really wouldn't. It makes me so glad I'm not on social media, because, like, people always want you to, like, contribute to things or, like, be a good person, like, donate.
There's some funny shit on there, though. I'm going to show you that Leo DMV compilation.
That would be good. But anyway, I found that was a very intriguing place where we're at right now, where nothing happened. I mean, basically, he went up there and kept the firing squad from firing on Facebook. And that was about it.
Got it.
Yeah.
That's funny. Until next time.